Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Rez Huseyin. I'm a student of the Diamond Approach, a spiritual path that I discovered through my work with the Enneagram. And here with me is senior teacher of the Diamond Logos path and leader of retreats on essence at the Mandali Center in Italy, Emilio Mercuriali. So, Emilio, maybe share a little bit about what you shared with me 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, so thank you for having me, first of all. And yes, I think my interest or inspiration about bringing the work to people, to teaching this work, is being always oriented towards bringing the spiritual dimension, our depth into the marketplace. So bringing the teaching to daily life, not going from busy life into the monasteric approach, like running away from life, but more like resourcing the individual in life from the spirit and bringing, metaphorically speaking, the monastery with you in daily life, in the chaotic life. So you have the inner peace, inner calmness, your essential resources into the daily life. So we notice that now things are changing, of course, since a while, with technology and social media and all what we can consume on the internet. People, in a way, they are more and more isolated. Mm-hmm. And we get a lot of data, a lot of input from all of that is available. Almost, there's, it's more than what we can digest. And of course, we see that the interpersonal relationships are changing also, the way that people may be more concerned about their Instagram or Facebook profile, selfies, rather than, so the psychology is changing. We are worried about people online that may not exist. Let's say the concept of the superego, we may be familiar with this idea, the inner critic, is maybe more concerned about what will people think about my Facebook profile than other things. So this kind of issue were not existing. So the psyche is transforming, especially if you see young people, they're concerned about things that they did not even exist before. So there is a mutation on this. There is an expansion. The psyche as a new layer, the digital technosphere, the internet of social media, let's say, the self-image on the internet.
Yeah.
It did not exist before. Before we had the social self-image, we used to go out and we worried about what you're Italian, you to dress in a certain way. You worry about what people in your town will think about it, and now it's all changing.
Yeah.
So the problem is not just the children, it's the people, it's all the humans now have been consumed, let's say, or distracted and eaten by this very powerful phenomena, which is amazing, that we have the possibility of talking to each other, to share these things, to learn anything we want. So it's beautiful what we have, the technology we have. At the same time, if a person is unconsciously using it, it's too much. It gets overwhelmed.
How do you think this situation is changing the developmental work that needs to happen?
Traditionally, in our work, we often, talk about father and support. And father usually is the person that takes you in the world, like tell you how to do things. And yet, because he knows how he did it, or he has informations about how things work. And now we have this kind of access to all of these informations online. We can learn anything from anywhere. Mind-blowing, the opportunities that we have. For example, some people are stubborn. Some people say no all the time, character style. And some people they say yes to, just as for extreme. We're looking psychologically two extremes. So some people, you tell them something, they always say, no, I want to do it my own way. They don't take anything in. Because of childhood, we know, maybe we don't explain now, but in the teaching, we know what happened. Once you start to relate with, for example, with AI, the character softens so much, is much more open to receive information, because the AI generally speaking, objective. The informations are given objectively. They're not saying you should do like that because then you should worry about what people think about you. It doesn't have the morality of other people. People always have positions. They want to tell you what to do because that's what they would do, and that maybe is compensating for some mistakes that they've made in their life, position that they've been taking.
Yeah.
They're not giving you honest feedback most of the time. They're telling something that is covering up their point, is their story. The ego tend to get polarized. People get to go in one camp or in the other camp. It's more neutral. So people with a stubborn character makes it much easier to receive information, to receive feedback from AI. It's not a person.
It's interesting.
It's very interesting how can we even use psychologically. I personally, if I want to study something, bridge a particular psychological theory, for example, that is new for me, maybe I read it, I'm studying, and I want to weave it with my existing knowledge, plus not just from an intellectual perspective, but in my own experience. I can inquire with the AI. We say, okay, now this is my thing. This is this new knowledge, piece of knowledge. Can you help me connecting these dots, the dots, and seeing how I'm wired in this particular psychological view of these teachings, of this system, and my own self-exploration, things I already know about myself, and I can start to integrate the old with the new and understand more about myself.
Are you using AI to support your inquiries in that way, Emilio? Yeah, I do that too. So a lot of people would have a problem with us doing that.
Yes. Now we're ready. People will have closed if this is an interview that goes online, they would say, okay, no, this is bad. You see, the position will be triggered.
Yeah. Well, and what is it you think those people were so concerned about?
I don't know. There were people afraid of ATM cards.
Okay, so you think it's some sort of extreme irrationality or inertia or something?
I don't know. I mean, it would need to be investigated, need to be.
Yeah.
This would be a nice topic, so it would be nice to have real people that come from that position to investigate and give us the answer, but it would be
I'm
nice
thinking,
research.
I'm thinking about the objections that I've heard from my friends have tended to come from therapists. And that is interesting too. So there's something about regulating, about being with another human being, and the extent to which AI can do that regulation. I have found that I've been able to regulate myself using AI.
Yeah, and we may be able to, like what I was saying at the beginning, we may be able to regulate the limbic, the human to human connection, maybe outside of therapy, maybe as a community with what I was saying before, which can be in touch with being and not issues, not just solving psychological issues like a therapist. Being to being, that's where we draw the line.
Yeah, so actually it puts the onus on the therapist. There's a lot of rubbish therapy going on that is replaceable and that is not supporting the essential recovery.
Yeah, it's a big topic because if you are a therapist, maybe not all of them, but some therapists, for example, may have an hidden or unconscious agenda that they should have clients, and those clients have problems.
Yeah, exactly.
So there is a view of the human, which I agree. There are people with issues, and they need therapy, and they need help. At the same time, the philosophical view could change. There's not we could be looking at people not as patients, but as individuals with at this time a certain difficulties, and we are all on the same path, and we may ourselves have difficulties one day, and it's not like I'm the therapist, like I know, and these people are clients, and they have this. So this setup supports a certain egoic structure and attitude in the therapists, which in my experience, I see them, they end up locking themselves up a lot because, well, they shouldn't have problems.
They end up being confined by
Yes.
that identity. Yeah, yeah.
They are a little bit like spiritual teachers, some spiritual
Mm,
teachers, in order not to have issues, especially the transcendentalists.
mm,
They avoid certain relationship because they will bring issues. So in
yeah.
order to maintain a state, which is a position, let's say, a particular attitude, that
Mm,
if I'm a therapist and I don't have so many issues in relationship because I'm a specialist in relationship, I may have to avoid certain relationships that bring up those issues. I
yeah,
have to stay
yeah,
with
yeah.
a person that thinks similarly to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's a big topic, but I
Mm-hmm.
think the human spirit is much stronger. I have more
Mm.
trust in the human spirit, in the human potential, than in the institutionalized therapy.
Maybe let's look at what you mentioned earlier about the power of being in community with people who are doing essential work, or at least trying to do essential work. Um, the role that plays in, yeah, supporting development.
Yeah, I mean, it's fundamental because, I mean, if we have individual experiences of being,
Mm,
like in a way, it's transcendental. We are away from life, away from relationship. We go to the meditation
mm,
retreat. We have a 10 days vipassana. We definitely experience some sort of expansion or essential dimension or whatever you want to call it,
mm,
satori, insight, breakthrough, something. Then we know that we go home from that 10 days, we go back to our family. At the beginning, everything is fine, or maybe already from the beginning, there are conflicts. We cannot communicate. One way or another, eventually there is a sort of rebound, and the personality or patterns kind of come back one way or another, and then people find themselves as they were before. It's
mm-hmm.
not a really permanent change, and you need to do it a lot over and over and become a retreat, live in that state for many months a year in order to maintain it, and so it's not so well integrated. So can we experiment having those states
Mm.
of being, not just in the same room together,
Yeah.
not like we are doing a vipassana retreat together and we share that time and now we belong to that club, but we have not had interpersonal relationship in that context. Can we start to share or relate, interact from those places? And usually the self-inquiry is that we practice in our work is supportive of that, because people tend to go to the different states of being, and they're
Mm.
wherever they are at is not imposed. I mean, of course, sometimes we say, okay, we work with a certain quality like the inner peace, and the whole group go to that, in touch with that quality at the same time, more or less. But
Mm.
generally speaking, in general, each person in the self-inquiry exercises, practice, they go wherever they're at, and then they talk from there. And so that is already beginning to create, as I was mentioning before, a sort of friendship or relationship, which is not based on the everyday interactions, but you start to see the other person depth.
Yeah.
We always love to see that when we see the person, even if it seems like simple, it's beautiful to see true
Mm.
expression rather than a mask.
I think we a part of us starts to really love it, and then really start to hate what the sort of false the false way of relating that is prevalent and that can't be helped. Yeah, so to me, when you're speaking about this, it conjures up the teaching on the pearl, so how to be the person of being in the world.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it is phenomenally challenging, actually, Emilio, to I think for every essential quality, there's different blocks to why I can't be it in relationships. Yeah.
Yes. So that's why the teaching becomes very useful to bring into this context. It's helping us understanding the different issues in the different contexts. So a very aggressive person who will not have difficulty with confrontation, while, so we know that the character will affect certain aspects of interpersonal relationships. So we can work actively in that field. And it can be to many levels. Can be introductory, it can be in depth, so it can be applied. It can just happen as a side effect to the, as we say, to the retreats, that people spend time together. And but it would be nice to consciously expanding to consciously relating, but not as a psychological stamp, like as an adventure,
Yeah.
not like as a fixing thing, not
So
like
if this,
anger
yeah.
management, more like
Yeah.
an adventure, like we can actually amplify our interpersonal connection, being to being.
Yeah, it is something to be very intentional about, isn't it? I'm thinking about, so most of the people I relate with on a daily basis are not spiritually inclined people, so my family members, and it is still possible for to be the person of being in without being superior or anything. It's not about that, is it? It's not about being superior over other human beings. It's about staying in touch and not constantly going to the old mechanical ways of relating.
Yeah, and you can be more of service,
Yeah, yeah.
like, because most people, they get intimidated by, for example, people in need. You may start to find yourself being more kind, more allowing the kindness to not, rather than having the self-judgment or the judgment, say, okay, no, we know what, wait a second, you're gonna get in trouble if you help somebody. You say, wait a second, let me assess the situation, let me see, and then I can act and express a certain quality of my being, of being loving and or helping an old lady or something, or a young person. What doesn't matter, I can become more human. And it's not a question of being better, it's more being of service, for example.
So is this something you're noticing a need for? So you're having your students in the retreats experiencing their essence just when they're at retreat.
Well, this is my practice, you could say. I mean, it's part of my personal practice in the sense that something that is happening, has been happening with the work, that I want to be more of being, personal being. So I live and it came spontaneously. It's not something that I wanted to just start to emerge. And so at the same time, I start to see that, as I said before, at the retreats, I see the connection. I start to recognize the being connection between people. And so it's inspiring me I consider the community, like I know that people bring to the retreats as much as I. Like the community is supplying the field, which I need to present the teaching. So the teaching needs that container, and also they giving me the space to teach, to the trust, and so I respect. I mean, I respect that opportunity, and I recognize that field, or that what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So you can recognize the preciousness and the value of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is, of course, something that our AI or whatever, if we're learning independently the spiritual knowledge, I guess we can develop to an extent actually in lots of ways, but not in that particular way where we're with humans being ourselves.
Yeah. And then you see, when I've done everything, like I finished my work, I took care of everything, I have time, I want to see my friend.
Yeah, of course.
So
Yeah.
we humans want to, we miss our friends, we miss our grandmother, and so this is natural.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not something, so we have studies, beautiful knowledge and all of that, but also at the end of the day, you see when people are about to die, what they want to be with their dear ones. They want to see the last time that person. So this is so important that this goes to this. We could even start to speculate that, like, we really are relational beings. That interpersonal relationship is where we create. And there are some Christian theology views where they don't see God as the Father. They are more scientifically approached. They have a more in-depth theological approach. And they see each human, each individual as an aspect, one manifestation of God, and like a team, like a football team. And the matrix of interpersonal relationships is what allow manifestation. This is Christian esoteric theology. So we may start to look at the human, not just, as of course the individual is very important, but the connection of the individuals, what we do together. If you can see from the ego level, we can create masses like fanatism, extremism, all kind of mass delusion. At the same time, together we can create a beautiful field.
Yeah, yeah. You know that there's something that I've noticed as a person's developing and they're bearing the fruits of that, of their development. There's a certain unwillingness to relate to people on a level that isn't equivalent, shall we say, which then sets up another division, right? So it puts the developing soul at odds with everyone else who isn't doing development. And there's a certain immaturity in that. I can recognize it, or I can hear it as I'm speaking, but it must be common because I've seen it a lot myself. You must have seen it too. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. So what happens? What's the orientation there for that individual?
Well, the ego regroups all the time. Yeah, the ego and the superego are adapting to. So we go to the retreat, we pass on a retreat, we have the insight, we have the an experience of enlightenment, then we are better than others. The ego
Yeah.
starts to be feeling grandiose, and then all the people that were around us are also like us, and then the group leader or the teacher is big up there. So it starts to absorb all these experiences and this what I mentioned now into the psyche, and create again a persona, a personality. That now I'm a spiritual person. I'm better than other. I'm more conscious. People say, "Are you in a relationship? Is she conscious of?" And I say, "Of course she's conscious, but every human being is conscious." Are you in a conscious relationship? I mean, give me a break. So you nailed it. It's really dangerous, So then again, then we need to, that persona has to be maintained by the superego. So say, well, so what is the spiritual person protocol to respect? And
Yeah.
so the superego will implement those new rules, and the person falls into the same system, the personality structure, with a
Yeah.
nice new, what do you call them? Facade.
So it's just just another self-image gets created, the
Yes.
self-image of being the good spiritual student. So we burst that, we look at that, we're honest about that, and
Yeah.
there is still and can be a difficulty. There's a sort of gravitational pull that I experience when I'm relating with, let's say, my mother, where I go back to my
You
identities,
choose
right?
very
Yeah,
good, a very nice example, because mother is the most difficult. They always say, in the spiritual tradition, say if you want to test somebody, check
yeah,
somebody enlightenment, send them to their mother.
it's true. It's definitely true.
So it
Um,
doesn't count that example.
so
I know what you mean, but we
yeah.
don't want to, create. It's challenging. It's challenging to relate.
Mm,
It's in general, yes,
yeah.
and some people we have more affinity, so we may have friendships with people that are in the work, and
Mm,
people that are not in the work at all, and they can be equally deep.
yeah.
And of course, as you say, yes, we know it's challenging when we have some understanding of being experience of being to be among people that are totally maybe disconnected. And I'm not saying that it's not there, but
Mm-hmm.
not to build any philosophy around it where we are
Yeah.
becoming better.
Do you think the changing technological landscape is making relational skills worse?
Yeah, as I was saying before, it could, we see because it's so easy to scroll on the Instagram or see what people are posting, and they are only selecting a certain type of images and experiences that are false
Mm,
because they're not showing the whole person. They're showing only the nice moment, and they're showing off maybe.
mm.
So it makes the person more insecure, fundamentally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like it's turning everyone into an Enneagram 4, isn't it?
Yes, but maybe some people don't spend so much time on it. I don't know. Like honestly, in my experience, I have no. I like tech. Yes, we talked about before, and I don't impose any limitation on myself. But beside in the morning, not to turn my phone on for at least 45 minutes, and I have some space. But
Yeah.
regard to using social media, for example, I never had to set myself
Mm.
a limitation. I just got bored.
Yeah,
I
there
just,
you go.
one day I just thought, but this is a long time ago. I mean, I'm talking about,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
that
some people are more vulnerable. They don't have, never had maybe deep experiences and real, maybe relationships, and they
yeah.
cannot yet recognize that superficiality and the waste of time.
It sounds like you had a lot of there was a lot of truth in your system, and that's what happens, isn't it? You just start rejecting the
Yeah.
empty things. Um, so what do you think, Emilio? Do we venture to the point of light, or do you want to have this conversation another day, maybe?
Yeah, maybe another day. Maybe
Yeah.
let's do another session.
I'll say thank you,
Yes.
Emilio, for
Thank you.
now. Thank you to anyone listening, and it looks like we might be back. I hope we will. Me and Emilio can put something in the diary for maybe after your retreat,
Yes,
Emilio.
it would be nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All
Thank you
right.
for having me, and thank you for this opportunity.